Okay. Hello, my name is Peter Schraml. I'm a senior solution architect in the cloud service engineering. And today I want to talk to you about how to onboard or how to correctly onboard to Horizon Cloud. So we start basically with just a summary. I divided the agenda in an assessment piece, analyze, decide, order, and then basically build and onboard and expand. So the most important thing is really in terms of the assessment. We offer a free lakeside assessment, 90 days free of charge, that you can use. It's a cloud-based service. You get a pre-configured agent that you can deploy on your on-prem infrastructure, on your physical devices, to get really good information on latency to applications, applications versions that you have, cloud-based storage that you use to really determine what possibilities you have. I wrote a blog in 2 parts over Lakeside and how to use it, and also how to analyze the data. And just to give you a couple of stats, I mean, you get a very easy way of concurrent sessions. What's your concurrency on concurrent users? And that will have an immediate effect in savings if you go to cloud, because you only cater for the maximum concurrency and you don't do an overcommit or you don't order more than you actually need. That is one statistics. You get also application versions, very detailed, the usage count, how often used and all that. You get on top of that with the virtualizer, the quick wins or the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. All the green areas in that stat are giving you the ability to very quick pick devices that are suitable for cloud or for virtualization in general. You get also latency between the backend and the front-end applications. You can obviously also install Lakeside inside the Horizon Cloud environment you get more information in terms of the performance. And obviously you get also the more important stuff is in terms of application packaging, because you want to know what you want to install or what you need to deliver in which means to the desktop or inside the desktop to your users. So in an analyst phase, it's really important to look at the maximum concurrency, as I alluded to, network bandwidth and latency, especially if you sitting in an area where we don't have a data center in that location, then latency gets definitely something that you need to consider. Application delivery, you have to think of, how do you deliver application? Do you use app volumes? Do you use RDSH? Do you install them in the image? User profile, what is the maximum satisfaction rate for the customer or the end user? What profile you use? We typically recommend a mandatory profile with a combination of user environment management and folder redirection. Storage requirements. I mean, we provide t-shirt sizes in terms of the machine size. So you get dedicated IOPS, but you still have to understand, do you have additional storage requirements? What is your disk size that you need on the OS? What software do you want to install? What AppStacks do you need, and how much storage do you cater for that in the cloud environment? As well as user data. Office 365 is a very pressing matter, because with the online mode, you typically see, latency and lagging in searching of emails. So you should consider to have an OST file stored somewhere on the home drive with folder redirection to give the user a much better experience, because online mode is typically really not something that you want to use in a VDI desktop. And then also restrictions, obviously. What proxy settings, what GPOs do you use? Do you restrict the profile? Do you restrict the use of disk? All that kind of things. And then the delivery type. Are you going for a published application versus a published desktop, or versus a desktop? And then you have the flavors of full clone, instant clone, and instant clone is obviously the the choice that you should take, because it gives you much more flexibility. With app volumes in the platform and UEM, you can basically build a persistent desktop with a non-persistent image, which gives you maximum performance in terms of building up a pool and really utilizing the concurrency that you need, because we can build a desktop in less than 10 seconds with instant clone in the platform, so very, very quick. If you upload an own image, then we offer an image upload, so you can upload your own image if you already have one. You should follow the rules between 30 or 60 gig. That's our disk size that you can use in cloud. We typically see a lower disk size, so 30 gig would be the ideal scenario to build an image, but then you can obviously compose and create higher desktop builds out of it. And bandwidth is really something you need to consider in terms of front haul, back haul, because you're not in an on-prem environment, so your user can come from outside via internet-facing point of presence into our infrastructure, or they can come from the front haul from your network, passing to the MPLS or VPN, hitting the desktop, and then they reach back to services. So in some constellations and in some configuration, you can consume a lot of network by going back and forth, front haul and back haul on the same VPN. So there are different options to configure. We are not any different to Horizon 7. We have the same bandwidth requirements in terms of front end, agent to desktop, and then the assessment will give you the information in terms of bandwidth consumption on the back end to reach back to Outlook, to reach back to databases, CMS systems, and all sorts of infrastructure that you deliver on the desktop. We guarantee peak bandwidth. We aggregate that per pool or per desktop, so each desktop has a particular amount of bandwidth that we provide. Aggregate that up to the amount of desktops that's your available peak bandwidth that you have on our internet-facing point of access. And the decision that you need to make is, VPN is a free service that we offer, so that's the quickest route to market. We can easily onboard a production environment in 10, 15 days, fairly easy. If you go for network bandwidth, 1 gig or 10 gig, depending on the size of the environment that you intend, then you have the choice between Direct Connect and Network Exchange. Network Exchange is obviously the less expensive version, and it gives you the growth on going to a larger scale environment, and that gives you also more flexibility. What we typically see with customers is they start with a VPN, because the network exchange or the MPLS takes longer to get that into the data center. So you can start with a VPN and then cut over to an MPLS or Direct Connect. Fairly easy. It takes like half an hour to configure and test, and then cut over. So that's definitely an option. And then, as I already said, how do you deliver applications? Because with app volumes, you have the capabilities to deliver applications as a single app stack, but still entitle different application in that app stack for a particular user group. So it gives you much more flexibility. You attach only one app stack, and then you can still entitle single applications in that app stack, which is the version 3, the cloud-based version that we use. Some basics to the VPN. Here is really the main focus is on the changeable or non-configurable informations. And configurable is obviously PFS, the encryption algorithm, the pre-shared keys for authentication. What we can't change or what is not configurable are those parameters. So your firewall or your gateway on your side that takes the VPN connection has to fulfill that requirements. Otherwise, we won't be able to connect via VPN. In general, as I already explained, we have basically 3 different connection methods. You can use Network Exchange, you can use the MPLS or the VPN. And then you have the difference on the Direct Connect. You have the option to go into the NSP and then use Network Exchange to cut across into our top of rack switch, or you use a direct connect with port, which is a physical connection that you run in the top of rack switch on our side. And if the customer already has infrastructure in the data center where we host, which is an IBM Bluemix or an IBM software data center where we offer our service, if you have a rack there, you can also use a direct connect with connection port into our top of rack switch, so you can basically utilize the existing infrastructure you have in there. And then you see on the right-hand side, we built basically free security or free zones. We have a security zone where we have the access gateways in. Then we have the service zone where we have the utility servers and the tenant appliances. The tenant appliance is basically our connection broker. It's all Linux-based appliances, so slightly different to what we do on Horizon 7. And then you have the desktop zone where you basically create your desktop pools or your RDSH pools. And from a network requirement perspective, we basically need a minimal set of network ports or network IP ranges. I come to that in a second. And then we offer also pricing calculator, use case calculator to understand, what's your sweet spot, what's your savings, all that. We offer the 3 different terms, 12 months, 24, 36 months. In terms of subscription, you can pay monthly or prepaid. And as longer the contract lasts, as more discount you obviously get. And then we also have a named or concurrent user licenses. Important with the change to move to Horizon Cloud is you can use that Horizon Cloud subscription in terms of named or concurrent user license and transition that, for example, to Azure, or you can use it also on Horizon Cloud on-prem. So the license is very flexible to use it wherever you want inside Horizon Cloud for the different products. Standard capacity, and that's what we calculate with, is a 1 vCPU, 2 gig memory, 30 gig disk space. You get 20 IOPS, that's your value desktop. And then you double that capacity, and that gives you then the next level. So we have in total, we have 4 different desktop types. If you double that, you get a 2 vCPU, 4 gig, 60 gig disk, 40 IOPS, and so on and so forth. So you basically add a standard capacity multiplied by 2, 4, or 8, and that's your desktop size that you can basically consume. I mean, the value desktop is probably not suitable for Windows 10 because of the memory, and we don't recommend to use that, but the professional desktop with 2 vCPUs, 4 gig memory is totally suitable. And we have customers, they run a value desktop on Windows 10 with a very light workload, but it's still not really something we would recommend. The deployment process is pretty straightforward and simple. As a customer, you would drop an order. You fill out the deployment worksheet, which is an online worksheet. The link is down here, so you get basically explanation what we require. We then have a kickoff meeting. We order the capacity on our side from software or from IBM. We then establish the network connection. We bring up the tenant. We do the interconnect. We join it into your domain, so we can either use an existing on-prem domain controller, or you can have a domain controller inside our tenancy. For redundancy reason, that's definitely something you should consider. And then we basically sign off the environment. The admin gets a half-day walkthrough to the Astro console, how to create an image, how to create a pool, how to update and all that. And then we hand off the environment, and that's typically 2 weeks is a fair assumption with VPN to get into a production environment. Important is really that we don't differentiate between a production or a pilot. For us, it's always production environments, all fully redundant. We offer 99.9 availability, so it is really a production environment on our side. From the network requirements, I said security zone is something we build out of the service zone network that you provide. And we need for the service provider or the service zone, which includes the tenant, the utility server, internet access points, we need as minimum a /27 or 6, 24, 25, and 24. That is suitable for a larger scale environment because we don't necessarily need more than 30 hosts to accommodate that. And we are talking about 10, 15,000 desktops fairly easy in that platform then. On the desktop zone, you can decide between /22 to /24. Typically what we see is a /24 when a customer starts with a pilot, but you can add up to 10 networks between /22 and 24. So if you start with a /22, you get basically 10 networks, which is around about 10,000 IP addresses. What you need to consider on the IP scope is always to reduce the DHCP lease, because that causes sometimes problems if you have, like an 8-hour or 12-hour or even a 5-day lease. We recommend to reduce that and then scope the IP scope for twice the amount of desktops that you want to deploy, because if you deploy on pool and you redeploy, then you potentially run out of IP addresses. Utility service, something we offer as part of the service. So you get a 2 vCPU 4 gig memory RDSH host that is not domain joined. You can use that either for domain controller. You can use it as a utility server to host the AppStacks on app volumes. You can use it for the file shares for UEM or for a distribution point with SCCM or any other PCLM. That is the workloads that we typically see there, and we support. What you can't use is obviously a SQL cluster or that kind of thing. That would be something that you would co-locate either in Bluemix or you have that on-prem. And you get basically 2 utility servers in the initial, and then you get an additional utility server every 1,000 capacity units. So as more the environment grows, as more utility servers you get. And as you hopefully know, UEM is fully suitable for DFSN, and you can basically do replication across into your on-prem environment. You can use your existing application configuration with UEM to bring that into cloud to use the same look and feel and have the same functionalities. That's an example of a customer, a typical use case that we see. That customer is using a third party as a service, an accounting company that does their bookkeeping, and they connect from their bookkeeping location into our infrastructure, and then we connect via VPN or MPLS in that case back to the infrastructure. On their side, we use their domain controller to authenticate, and we have also an MPLS running between their different sites. So they have a customer environment or infrastructure in the UK, and they have one in Germany, and we connect that basically on both sides, so the customer or the end user can decide either to go to the UK environment or to the German environment, and they run a 50-50 split on that environment. So half of that logs on to UK, half of it logs on to Germany, and they have 25% additional capacity. In case of a DR, they can basically fail over and can accommodate up to 25%, which is their sweet spot in terms of DR. AD integration is typically what we see is we integrate in the existing customer environment. We use a bind domain join account, standard configuration. You should monitor that, and the data are encrypted in our database. We use the password encrypted for the domain join account, because we consistently basically join machines into the domain. That's the reason why we need that. Apart from that, any other AD functionalities are fully supported. From an image creation point of view, as I said, we offer optimized images. So you can start very quick with an optimized image from us, install your software, create a pool, and you're done. But you can also upload your existing image. We advise or educate customers to do that, because typically in the worst case scenario, you see a P2V from a physical machine as an image, which is not what you want. We recommend to do optimization on it with the optimization tool, and then really upload that, and we can certainly help customers to do that. Same with RDSH. You can also create a custom or a private image on RDSH. We basically need the same agent set apart from the DAS agent and the DAS ELF agent. That is basically what we use to compose and clone and join the domain. That's done by the DAS agent. That's the requirements that we have on that side. And as I said, you can obviously provide a custom image. You have to follow the rules that it is either created on Workstation, Fusion, or vSphere. It has to be hardware version 11. It has to have a VNXNet free network card, and it should be the smallest disk size of the desktops you intend to use, either 30 or 60. Yeah, and you obviously then run the OS optimization tool, and also you can use the migration tool to transition, a Citrix image that you already have into Horizon Cloud. AppVolumes gives you definitely the benefit of capturing in very easy way applications. It's an off-prem capturing, so you get a capturing tool where you can capture the AppStacks, you upload them into the platform, and then you entitle the applications to that. And that's really the preferred way to do that. In the platform, we support that only for client OS, not for RDSH at the moment, but hopefully that is coming in the near future. User environment is definitely something you should use. If you don't have any profile solutions, then that would be the way to go. Apart from if you have a roaming profile, then I would highly recommend to go for UEM, because the roaming profile is the problem, is the roaming profile in a profile solution. It was never intended for VDI, nor it was intended for an instant clone, for example. And then, I'm not going through those details, but you will get the slide deck anyway. So image creation, the process of image creation, it's fairly simple to do that. With instant clone, you have different options to do that. You can update the images on the fly. So every time we create a new desktop in a pool, we would use the newer image and update. So you have a rolling concept of updating the pools, which makes it very, very easy and very reliable as well. We have also the ability to push updates out inside the platform. So you can basically create a new image and then push that out to your existing pool and roll over the pool. That's an option as well. And that gives you the ability, very quick change in pool, because the composition time is probably for 500 desktops is less than 10 minutes. So it's very quick to roll that over. For the traditional clone, we have the same functionalities, but you obviously follow a different pattern, because with a traditional clone, the cloning time obviously takes much longer. And in that case, you can also use the instant clone technology to duplicate an image, update that, and then push that out. What we normally recommend is to really do an automated install and an automated creation of the image and all your application, because that makes it much more predictable than having an image and update that consistently, because you inherit a lot of uncertainty in adding up and updating. So you should always start with a clean image as a gold build, and then do an automated installation of your application to make that more predictable and make it easier also to troubleshoot, because you know exactly what you did. If you update an image over 4 or 5 cycles, then it can be anything, and you really struggle to figure out what the problem is. Okay, so that was basically my presentation. More than welcome to ask questions after the session, or pop me an email, or connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions, or if you have in general an interest. I'm based in the UK, so UK time zone, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.